300,000 people live in the United States right now without a single electrical outlet in their homes. No refrigerator, no light switch, no furnace thermostat, no charging cable. They have been doing it for generations, and not one of them considers it hardship. The number and what it means. 300,000 is not a small community of outliers. It is a population larger than the city of Pittsburgh, distributed across more than 30 states, managing every function of daily life: cooking, heating, cooling, food storage, communication, transportation, medical care without connection to the electrical grid. The Amish population has doubled in the last 20 years and continues to grow. They are not struggling, they are thriving. Why they chose this? The Amish rejection of electricity is not technophobia, and it is not ignorance. It is theology, applied consistently and deliberately across every area of daily life. The Ordnung, the unwritten code governing Amish community life, treats connection to the public electrical grid as a connection to the outside world that compromises the community's separateness, its self-sufficiency, and its dependence on God rather than on systems controlled by people outside the faith. Gelassenheit, the principle of yieldedness, of submitting individual desire to communal and divine order, means that the convenience of electricity is weighed against what it costs the community in terms of dependency, pride, and distraction. The Amish did not reject electricity because they could not understand it. They rejected it because they understood exactly what it would do to their way of life, and they decided the trade was not worth making. That decision was made generations ago and is reaffirmed every time a young Amish adult chooses baptism and the life that comes with it. How they eat. The center of an Amish kitchen is not a refrigerator or a microwave. It is a wood-burning stove, typically cast iron, positioned at the heart of the home where its heat serves two purposes, simultaneously cooking the food and warming the house. Amish women cook 3 full meals per day from raw ingredients on this stove, managing fire temperature through the size and placement of wood rather than a dial. Propane is used in many districts for secondary burners and canning operations, but the wood stove remains the primary cooking surface in most old order homes. Cast iron cookware is standard pans that have been in families for generations, seasoned to a finish that no nonstick coating matches. Bread is baked in wood-fired ovens. Pies are timed by feel and smell. The knowledge required to cook this way is practical, physical, and passed from mother to daughter across years of daily practice until it becomes second nature. How they store food without refrigeration. The Amish cold chain has no electrical component and no dependence on any utility. Root cellars dug beneath the house maintain temperatures between 32 and 50 degrees Fahrenheit year-round through the natural insulation of the surrounding earth, cold enough to store vegetables, dairy, and cured meats for months without any energy input. In districts near ponds or streams, ice is harvested in January using horse-drawn equipment and hand saws cut into blocks, hauled to insulated storage cellars, and packed in sawdust where it remains solid well into summer. One Ohio Amish family documented their ice lasting 14 months from a single winter harvest. Canning shelves lining every Amish cellar hold the year's production of preserved vegetables, fruits, meats, and jams, hundreds of sealed glass jars that require no power to maintain and no refrigeration to access. Fermented foods, sauerkraut, pickles, fermented beets preserve themselves through natural acidity. Smoked and salt-cured meats hang in cool spaces without refrigeration for months. The Amish food storage system is not a primitive version of a modern refrigerator. It is a completely different and in many ways more resilient solution to the same problem. How they light their homes and nights. Walk into an Amish home after dark and the quality of the light will stop you. Kerosene lamps and propane gas lanterns produce a warm, amber light that fills a room differently than any LED bulb, softer, more directional, more alive. Windows in Amish homes are positioned deliberately to maximize natural light throughout the day, reducing the need for any artificial source until the sun genuinely sets. After dark, kerosene lamps sit on tables and hang from ceiling hooks, giving sufficient light for reading, sewing, and conversation without the flat, blue-tinted brightness of electrical lighting that disrupts circadian rhythms and keeps modern families awake past midnight. Candles supplement lamps in bedrooms. Battery-operated flashlights are permitted in most districts for outdoor night chores and buggy lighting required by state law. The Amish evening, lit by flame, tends to end earlier than the modern American evening, not because they go to bed reluctantly, but because the light naturally signals the body that the day is done. Research on sleep quality consistently shows that exposure to flame-based light in the evening produces faster sleep onset and deeper rest than exposure to electrical lighting. The Amish have known this, practically, if not scientifically, for 300 years. How they heat and cool without HVAC? Heating an Amish home in January is managed through a combination of architecture and fire that requires no thermostat and no utility bill. The central wood stove is placed at the structural heart of the house during construction so that its heat radiates in every direction through the building. In larger homes, a second stove serves the upper floor. Coal furnaces supplement wood in some districts during the deepest cold. The house itself is built to retain heat, thick walls, minimal unnecessary openings, heavy curtains on windows after dark. In summer, the same principles work in reverse. Deep roof overhangs shade windows from direct sun during the hottest months. Cellars provide a cool retreat. Cross ventilation through strategically placed windows moves air without fans. Cooking moves partially outdoors in peak summer heat to prevent the wood stove from raising the interior temperature beyond comfort. The Amish body also adapts, having never experienced air conditioning. Amish people develop a genuine tolerance for seasonal temperature variation that most modern Americans have lost entirely through year-round climate control. How they get and manage water. Municipal water supply requires electrical pumps. Amish water supply does not. Hand-operated pitcher pumps draw from wells directly into the kitchen sink without any power. Windmill-powered pumps fill elevated storage tanks that then deliver water to the house through gravity alone. No pressure tank, no electrical pump, no utility connection required. Rain is collected from roof catchments into cisterns. In larger farms, diesel or propane-powered water pumps are permitted in many districts for livestock watering operations where the volume required exceeds what hand pumping can provide. Hot water for bathing and washing dishes is heated on the wood stove in large kettles and transferred to sinks or bathtubs by hand. Laundry water is heated in dedicated wash boilers. Every step of the water system operates independently of any grid, any utility, and any system the family does not control entirely themselves. How they handle every other household system. The systems that modern households have outsourced to electricity are managed by the Amish through mechanical alternatives that perform the same function more slowly and with more human labor. Laundry is washed in wringer washers powered by small gasoline engines or compressed air systems permitted in most districts because they do not connect to the public grid. Treadle sewing machines, powered entirely by the operator's foot, produce the plain clothing that every Amish family wears. Communication happens face-to-face, through handwritten letters, and through shared community telephones located in small outbuildings at the edge of the district, close enough to access in emergencies, far enough from the home to prevent the casual, constant use that the Ordnung identifies as a threat to community life. Transportation is horse and buggy for local movement, with English hired drivers available for longer distances. Medical care is sought from English doctors and hospitals when necessary. The Amish do not reject modern medicine, only modern infrastructure in the home. What happens in a genuine crisis? In February 2021, a winter storm knocked out electrical power across large portions of Texas for days. Millions of modern Americans lost heat, lost food, lost water, and in some cases lost their lives because every system they depended on required electricity to function. In Amish communities across Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Indiana during the same period, nothing changed. The wood stoves burned. The root cellars held temperature. The hand pumps worked. The kerosene lamps lit the evenings. The horses did not require fuel. The community gathered as it always gathered and managed the cold as it had always managed the cold through fire, preparation, and the particular competence that comes from never having outsourced survival to a system you do not control. This is not a hypothetical advantage. It is a demonstrated one, visible every time the modern grid fails and the Amish simply continue their day. A community that is never depended on external infrastructure cannot be made vulnerable by the failure of external infrastructure. That is not a coincidence of their lifestyle. It is its most important feature. What the children learn. Every system described in this video is transmitted to the next generation not through instruction, but through participation. An Amish child does not watch a parent pump water and receive an explanation of how gravity-fed cisterns work. They pump the water themselves, beginning at an age when their arms can reach the handle. They do not observe fire being built in the wood stove they learn to build it, first with supervision and then alone, until the sequence of kindling, wood, and damper adjustment is as automatic as breathing. They carry kerosene to lamps. They help harvest ice from the pond in January. They stand beside their mothers at the canning operation in August and understand, through years of repetition, that the jars being sealed now are the food that will be eaten in February. By the time an Amish child is 12 years old, they possess a working knowledge of every system required to sustain human life without electrical infrastructure. They cannot explain the physics of a gravity-fed water system in academic terms. They can fix one. They cannot cite research on the sleep benefits of flame-based lighting. They go to bed when the lamp is turned down and rise when the light returns. The knowledge the Amish transmit is not stored in books or videos or any medium that requires a power source. It is stored in the bodies and habits of 300,000 people who learned it the same way by doing it every day, from the time they were old enough to carry a bucket. What visitors notice when they stay. Journalists, researchers, and ordinary English families who have spent time inside Amish homes consistently report the same set of observations, and they report them with a consistency that suggests something more than personal preference. The first thing they notice is the quiet, not the absence of noise. Amish homes with 8 or 10 children are not quiet in any conventional sense. What is absent is the specific background frequency of the modern electrical home, the hum of the refrigerator, the standby noise of appliances, the blue glow of screens and peripheral vision, the notification sounds arriving from every surface. Without that layer of ambient stimulation, the air in an Amish home feels different. Visitors describe it as calmer, more present, more real. The second thing they notice is the quality of conversation. When there is no screen to defer to, no phone to check, no television to fill the silence, people talk to each other. Not at each other across competing devices to each other, with eye contact, with full attention, with the particular quality of presence that most modern adults experience only on retreat or vacation when they have deliberately removed themselves from their devices. The third thing they notice is how early and how completely they sleep. One night under Amish conditions, genuine darkness, genuine quiet, genuine physical tiredness from a day of real work produces a quality of sleep that most modern visitors describe as unlike anything they experience at home. They wake before the alarm they set and feel, for the first time in years, genuinely rested. The most important thing, 300,000 Amish people living without electricity proves is not that electricity is bad. It proves that the modern world's absolute dependence on it is a choice, not a necessity, and that the cost of that choice, measured in vulnerability, in disconnection, and in the gradual loss of practical human competence, is higher than most people have ever been asked to calculate. The average American household cannot produce its own food, heat its own home without a utility connection, store food without refrigeration, or access water without an electrical pump. These are not primitive skills that human civilization has wisely outgrown. They are survival competencies that 300 years of Amish practice have preserved and that 3 generations of electrical convenience have quietly eliminated from most of the population. The Amish are not suggesting that the world should turn off its power. They are not evangelizing their lifestyle to outsiders. They are simply living it. as they have always lived it, because it produces the community, the faith, the family structure, and the resilience they value above the convenience they have declined. What they prove at a scale of 300,000 people across 30 states is that human beings do not need electricity to live well. They need fire, water, food, community, and the knowledge of how to manage all four without depending on anyone outside their own household and district to provide it. That knowledge is what the Amish have protected. That knowledge is what the rest of the world is, slowly and expensively, beginning to realize it may have let go of too soon.